No. Thank you, panel. Issue 2. Land Information Minister Maurice Williamson says we are being racist about the Chinese-backed company wanting to buy Crayford Farms. This after Maurice made jokes at the expense of Muslims and Samoans at an awards ceremony recently. Phoebe, Natural Dairy New Zealand's financial backers recently donated $200,000 to the National Party and are currently looking to set up a new political party here. What is economic sovereignty and what is xenophobia in this debate?
This is a difficult question because I think that there are issues around economic sovereignty, but I think in this particular instance there is xenophobia being played into, and I think that for the sector of New Zealand society that is concerned about these large-scale farms, they're concerned about foreign ownership, I think those are totally valid concerns. Yet I can understand how it might be read as xenophobic. I mean, we live in a country where really the only Asian representation that you see on TV are things like spray and walk away kind of ads.
Yes, that
or,
mentality.
It's acceptable to kill off a character on Shortland Street with SARS.
Right.
So I think if you were from that group, you would be perceiving this as very racist, and in the same way that Winston Peters really hits home for them, and there's certainly been work done on this. I think that there wouldn't be such a furore if it wasn't a Chinese company. Certainly, if we look at foreign ownership in New Zealand, it's about 64% Australian.
That's
We've
right.
had Americans buying massive farms over the last week, and prior to that, even if you look at our vine industry, Brian Rudman was talking about how that's 70% foreign owned. So certainly there is an element of that. I think the other kind of concern is the kind of inequity between the land buying and that we couldn't buy land in China.
Right.
Although if you look at it, Fonterra also owns a company in Chile. So there is certainly a kind of globalisation of our farming interests that's going on. I think the third and final issue would be kind of concern over practice, and that China's a country that's industrialised very quickly and perhaps doesn't have the same kind of standards
legal
of practice
nuances,
or legal guidelines as New Zealand. But yes, I think it certainly taps into xenophobia that it has hit the front page so quickly, although I would say that there are valid concerns being raised, and that I think it's unfortunate for the Chinese of New Zealand, who many of them many generations have been here, yet they were considered illegal aliens up until the 1960s.
Claudette, New Zealand is becoming the friction point in China and America's new struggle to see who will be the new undisputed superpower. Has the government been sucked into China's sphere of influence by us not having a China policy? Do we need one? What does it need to say?
Listen to your vocabulary, sucked in. I just want to talk about something. I want to talk about, xenophobia and its race. What this country has never been allowed to do is to debate race between the treaty, the signatories of the treaty, Pākehā and Māori. Māori have always wanted to talk about race. They've never been able to debate that. And now we're talking about other nations coming in and, being bought out, and then things are being called racist. And, there is all of that, absolutely. And there is a problem with companies coming in and buying us out and buying our, our foreshore, land, all of that kind of stuff. At the base of this, the basic thing is New Zealand has never been allowed to debate its relationship with the treaty partners. And once we start to do that, and once we really drill down and find out what happened in our history, will we be able to look at more clearly why these people are here, why these other new immigrants are here. Some of them aren't so new too, actually. Some of them came at the same time as the Pākehā. But, so we're moving off onto economic sovereignty at the basis of this. It's all about race.
Does the National Party, does the government need a China policy? We don't have one. What should it say?
I don't know about, thanks very much, you take me back onto the track. We need an economic policy. And part of China is part and parcel of our trade and economic policy. So when you say, should we have one just on China, the next thing you're going to say is, should we have one just on America or just on Australia or just?
Well, China's the rising superpower.
Yeah, that's right, but it's got to be part and parcel of the
relationship with them, don't we?
Well, of course, but we also need a specific relationship with all the other economic partners, all the other trading partners, and we have that. So by just signalling by just signalling out one country, China, actually categorises it into the xenophobic debate that you're actually placing it in.
Right.
So rather than, you know, saying we need to have a look at a full global economic policy, trade and economic policy, you're saying we should have one for China.
Because they have specific needs.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
specific
But
wants.
absolutely. But you see, you are drilling down and putting it into a category of just one country, just one type of people, and highlighting the fact that they are Chinese. And then we highlight the fact that these people are coming over when really it's part and parcel of a whole economic policy.
Phoebe, Williamson is the minister who will greenlight the Crayford purchase, and a lawyer advising the government how to make it easier to sell assets overseas was actually working for the Chinese company wanting to buy the Crayford farms. Can New Zealanders put much faith in the decision-making process to sell our productive land offshore?
I don't think we can. I don't think we have been able to put much faith in that process for a while now. I think this is just one of those kind of flashpoint issues that does relate to xenophobia. That's why it's come up. I think that we need to be asking hard questions about foreign ownership, as you know, particularly because these are our resources. These are the things that we need in a recession.
Claudette, the argument from the right is that it's just because it's the Chinese trying to buy land here that we have a problem. But I don't have a problem with any. I don't have a problem. I have a problem with any overseas interest buying land in New Zealand. Why can't we simply allow overseas interests to lease the land here rather than buy it?
I don't see that there is a problem with that. The issue with that, though, is whether tangata whenua will allow that. And so, you know, and let's be clear here, Māori were great exporters and traders, you know, pre-colonisation and during the colonising period. And you'll probably be very surprised at how aggressive and assertive Māori are in dealing with foreign investments. So if, you know...
Could we look to Māoridom for the example here?
Well, I think so, because, you know, going back to the seabed foreshore, you know, it's about retaining ownership in Aotearoa and looking at partnerships, looking at things like leasehold. I mean, Ngāti Porou have that with their forestry. Ngāi Tahu has that as well too with their fisheries.
And it works well.
It works absolutely well. So, you know, again, I think that the emphasis has been shifted to, you know, these foreigners are coming in and they're buying everything. These Maoris are, you know, wanting to take out everything, when really at the core of this, it is about, you know, business relationships, developing stronger economic ties so that we can all develop.
Question to both of you, does Morris have any leg to stand on with the racism call after he was caught out making jokes about Muslims and Samoans?
No, I think not.
Your friend Morris?
Yeah, my friend Morris.
Does he have any leg to stand on with his claims of racism after doing his little Muslim and Samoan joke routine?
You know, there is absolutely no place for racism.
Yes.
There is absolutely no place for racism. But let me tell you this.
Yes.
You know, I don't actually know what the jokes were. There is no place for racism, and I want to be really clear about that. But on the other hand, you know, sometimes we just need to get a funny bone.
Yes, well, so does Morris. Who wins, who loses by selling New Zealand farms to overseas owners?
I think New Zealanders lose, and I think actually one thing I just want to interject with in this particular case is that the group, you know, Natural New Zealand Dairy Farms, that is buying this, I mean, there's some really big business issues behind that. You've got Mei Wang from the failed Dynasty Group, you've got investors there that have been done for fraud,
dodgy
in China.
dealings.
So I think that this deal at the end of the day is actually not going to stand up, and I just realised I had not mentioned that.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we do need to look into these issues.
Claudette, who wins, who loses with overseas farms being sold to overseas owners?
Well, yes, there are some winners. Obviously, those that are going to pocket the money will win by any sale. But whether or not the country as a whole benefits from it is you know, up for discussion.
Thank you, panel. Coming up, who is winning the Super City race this week? John Banks or Len Brown, and do you care? Citizen A is back after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Citizen A. We're reviewing the week with Auckland opinion shapers, blogger Phoebe Fletcher and CNR candidate Claudette Hoiti. Issue 3 this week, the Len Brown-John Banks slugfest continues to smash itself out, and the only certain thing is that Cameron Brewer's haircut is the most unelectable thing I've ever seen. Phoebe, John Banks' decision to use bus lane fines to raise revenue hasn't gone down as well as he'd hoped for, has it?
No, well, you know, what did he expect? Aucklanders love their cars.
Yes.
You know, this is a big problem in Auckland. Yeah, no, it certainly hasn't gone down well. That is one of the big election issues. Is actually probably a worry, given that we've got a super city that, you know, is going to represent a third of New Zealand's population, and that, you know, whether or not you could be able to drive in a bus lane is one of the central issues. It really represents the fact that only last time, you know, 40% of people only voted.
Claudette, the spin line by the media has been that brown people from South Auckland are too lazy to vote, meaning Len's lead is too slim to win. Isn't that an outdated perception by a white-dominated corporate media?
Yes, and you know, they're not lazy. There are, you know, it's like a language, you know. You speak the right language, people will come out in droves. You know, we have the hikoi, you know, the seabed foreshore hikoi. You speak the right language, people will come out in droves. So to say that they're lazy, which actually, you know, is actually pushed by the left side as well too, by the unions that say, you know, these people don't want to vote because they don't want to vote for you. Well, no, it's actually within their interest to keep those people sidelined and to keep on saying, well, you know, they're just not going to vote for you because they just don't like you, which develops a perception that they're lazy when they're really being shut off from being allowed to participate in this process.
But the super city is certainly something that people feel passionate about, and they're going to get out and vote for, aren't they?
Well, you know, I mean, we didn't. I think one of the things that the Electoral College should have done was to roll out a far more aggressive and assertive campaign to get those people to register, to get everybody across Auckland to register.
You think it's been very strong?
No, absolutely not, and it has traditionally never been very strong at local council level. And this is history in the making, and everybody should have got behind this to get it rolled out, whether we liked it or not. The super city is here, and so therefore the campaigning to roll people out, to get them to register, to get them to vote should have happened.